Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Conservative Corner. I'm Elliot Margolis, and I'm here with my co-host, Gail Burke. And today we're going to continue the small series that we have on the 250th anniversary of the country. Last time we spoke about George Washington. Today we're going to speak about Thomas Jefferson, probably one of the most brilliant people you've ever wanted to experience in your life. Gail, start us off. Okay. I'll give you a couple of minutes.
Thank you very much. I just want to kind of set the scene for what it was like during those times to even think about a Declaration of Independence or a Constitution. And Thomas Jefferson was a brilliant founder. The framers of the Constitution met behind locked doors and closed windows during the Philadelphia summer of 1787. Their work was so important that dirt was spread across the cobblestone street to muffle the clatter of passing carriages in front of the Pennsylvania State House, where guards were posted. 55 delegates were inside to start the framework of the nation's government. Today's American constitutional republic is often compared to the Roman Republic, which lasted 500 years. This year we're celebrating the 250th, so we're halfway there. But we'll get back to Thomas Jefferson. He was a remarkable man who started learning very young. At 9, he studied Latin, Greek, and French, 9 years old. At 14, he studied classical literature and additional languages. At 16, he entered the College of William and Mary and also could write in Greek with one hand and Latin in the other hand. At 19, he studied law. At 23, he started his own law practice. At 25, he was elected to the Virginia House of Burgesses. At 31, he wrote the widely circulated Summary View of the Rights of British America. He was a delegate to the Second Continental Congress at age 32. And at age 33, he mostly wrote the Declaration of Independence. That's quite a record for such a young man. Don't you agree?
I do agree. And he was also a major framer of the United States Constitution. And what's interesting about him, when you read a little bit about him, they say he never spoke much at any of these meetings.
Right.
But he did a lot of the writing at these meetings. And he was writing everything all the time. Why didn't he speak? It would be the question, because he obviously had a lot of good things to say, and we'll go over those in a little while. And the reason is he was a stutterer.
Now see, I knew he wasn't a good speaker, but I didn't know about the stuttering.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So he just soaked everything in. He listened and he wrote. And it was amazing. But you know, he was the one that said, you know, all men are created equal in the Declaration of Independence. So here's the dichotomy. Why did he have slaves? If all men are created equal, and yet he had a lot of slaves, and his wife, Martha, she was very wealthy. Yep. She had a lot of slaves. And people have to understand that back in those days, the black communities in Africa sold black people to America to be slaves. That was the system that would work then. So we had slaves working in the different farms and everything else. That was the way things were. But to tell you how great this country was, and keep in mind, upon his death, Jefferson did free the slaves. But when we find something wrong, we fix it. We had the Civil War. white people fought to get black people free.
Yeah.
One, I don't know whether it was a mistake or not, but we allowed women to vote. You know, I mean, women weren't allowed to vote before, but, you know,
I protest.
but now women can vote. In other words, we see something wrong and we fix it.
Well, one of the problems with abolishing slavery, and Jefferson knew it, the founders knew it, and later on Abraham Lincoln knew it as well, because many of the slaves were illiterate. They did not know how to read and write. But Jefferson had some slaves that did know how to read and write because of him. And he also taught them trades so that eventually, he always thought ahead. Eventually, when they would no longer be slaves, they could go out, be free people, and exist, make a living for themselves. So he was always thinking.
He was, and it is fairly well known that he actually fathered a baby from a slave.
Right.
So think about that the way you want to think about it, but he did free his slaves. His wife freed her slaves. It was a way of life then.
Right.
You
And
know?
unfortunately, in today's society, when a certain segment of the population, you might say, talks about the founders, it's always in the negative. And one of the first things they talk about was, well, they were slave owners.
Right, and you know, it really kind of annoys me with a lot of people that they complain about that. What other country in the entire world has said, gee, this is wrong, we should fix it, besides the United States?
Well, there was actually, the United Kingdom also did the same at about the same time that the United States was doing it. And they were a long-established country
Right.
in government, and we were just fledglings. So, you know, we learned, and over time, we have done everything we can to abolish slavery, at least in our own country, unlike some other countries even today who have slavery.
Right.
So, but Thomas Jefferson spent a lot of time in France. He was the United States minister when the Constitution was actually written, but through his correspondence, he was able to influence some of the things that were being put into the Constitution. And like you said, he couldn't speak very well, but he certainly was a very prolific writer.
And he was the first Secretary of State.
That's right.
He was the second Vice President, and he was the third President.
Yeah,
So
incredible.
I mean, his history is truly incredible. His writing ability and ability to take things and make them right was incredible.
Oh, yeah.
And here's the thing that I find more fascinating is the way some of the quotations that he has said are so relevant even today.
Exactly.
It's amazing, and I'd like to go over a
Okay.
few of those. We don't have time all day today to go through all of them, but
No, it's just too many.
the course of liberty shows that as government grows, liberty decreases. The two enemies of the people are criminals and government. So let us tie the second down with the chains of the Constitution so that the second will not become the legalized version of the first.
Well, he was very afraid of the federal government becoming too big and too strong. He was very much in favor of a limited government.
Which is why we have the executive branch, the judicial
That's right.
branch, and the lawmaking branch, because of that. That quote
Right.
tells it all.
Well, he was instrumental in establishing helping to establish all of that.
Yeah, yep. When the people are afraid of the government, that's tyranny. But when the government is afraid of the people, that's liberty. Take a look at Iran,
Right.
okay? Are people afraid of their government? Darn right they are.
Terrified.
How about Russia?
How about China?
China? Okay, are people afraid of their government?
Yep.
Yeah, they are. And we got to be careful in this government now. This government, some people are trying to take over and tax you more. It's the brilliance of that quote.
Right. And I think we should remember that the Socialist Democrats of America, quote unquote, is a made-up organization that some would say borders on communism, others would say it is communism. You have to make your choice about that. And they're becoming very bold today in outlining just what their policies are. One of them being getting rid of the United States Senate, getting rid of the presidency. That's pretty radical stuff.
Now we're talking tyranny.
Yep.
That's exactly what
Yep.
Jefferson said we have to fight against.
Right.
And in fighting against it, this is what he said. A true patriot will defend his country from the government. Think about that.
Yeah. That's
Okay?
a powerful statement.
That's a very powerful statement. When once a republic is corrupted, there is no possibility of remedying any of the growing evils by removing the corruption and restoring its lost principles. Every other correction is either useless or a new evil. Amazing the forethought that he had.
Exactly, yeah. Well, I think because he had studied some of the governments of Europe and he saw what was happening, even in those days. So what's happening today is the same thing.
When you think about our Constitution, no other country has had a Constitution that's lasted this long.
Or Ben is
The
completely...
brilliance
Yeah.
of the people in there writing it, but Jefferson was certainly the leader.
And think about that. It was the 18th century when it was written. And to be able to look into the future and see what could happen. And there was certainly a lot of confrontations between the founders trying to hammer out this particular document. And look what they ended up with. Amazing.
When you abandon freedom to achieve security, you lose both and deserve neither.
Right.
You have to think about what these things really mean. Think about it in today's terms. What's going on in the country today? And I'm talking both parties, so let's be clear about that. But you look at the hatred that we have in government today. And let me just give you a good example. When I interviewed Hannah Bowen, Hannah and I disagree with almost everything, okay? We had a terrific conversation because we could talk to each other, explain each other's point of view, and you can justify each other's point of view. The definition of politics is the art of compromise. Do you see that in Washington now? It's hatred.
Yeah.
It's absolute hatred.
Even in your everyday life. I mean, I live in Brooksby Village, and there's a real distinction from one party against the other. And my philosophy is, okay, I don't mind talking about it, but don't make a statement And then everybody says, oh, we can't talk about politics here. It immediately cuts off any communication.
Well, that's the
About
thing.
it.
You know, oftentimes I talk to liberals. I have a lot of friends who are liberals. And then they'll make some kind of comment against Trump or something, and I'll start asking questions, and their answer is, I don't want to talk about it.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it because I can't talk about it.
That's right.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's the problem.
I had a conversation like that a couple of weeks ago with a good friend of mine, only she didn't say, I'm not going to talk about it. She did talk about it. And we talked about several different issues. And she agreed with me on several different things. And I was surprised because most of the time when I've talked to liberals, they won't agree. Even if they do agree, they won't admit it.
Well,
So
you
it
know,
cuts the conversation
it's
off.
interesting you say that because I'm not going to say who this is, but I was talking to this woman and we were talking about issues. And she agreed with everything that the Republicans believed in, but has always voted Democrat and will always vote Democrat. Okay? But she agreed with the Republican side of you. People don't understand issues anymore. That's the problem. They don't
Well,
care about the issues
No,
anymore.
they care about the personalities
Yeah.
of the people that they dislike intensely.
Yep. That's
And
it.
that's too bad.
And why do they dislike it? You know why? Because there's no more Huntley Brinkley and there's no more Walter Cronkite who used to just report the news. Now it's all editorializing.
Yeah.
There's no reporting of news.
No.
The government you elect is the government you deserve.
Okay.
Think about that one.
Yep.
Here, I like this one. To learn, you have to listen. To improve, you have to try.
Very good.
Okay?
When we're talking about the Constitution, they called it an empty parchment before it was ratified. And there is a reciprocal relationship between the Constitution and the character of the American people. And many people today misread the American people in what they want and what they require and what they're striving for. And I think it's important to understand that the American people aren't in favor of racism, and we're not a racist country.
That's correct. We are not a racist country, and most people are not racist. But you know who creates the racism?
The media and the left.
The media and the left create the racism.
Yes, they do.
Absolutely, without question. And we could probably do a whole show
I'm sure
on
we
how
could.
they do that.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, people are people. If this person says something, you don't have to say, this woman said something or this black guy said something.
right.
This person said something, because we're all people.
Yeah.
That's all.
That's the danger of gender politics.
Yeah.
Identity politics.
Well, that's the
It really
danger of
is.
DEI.
Yeah. And that's everywhere. It's in the schools, it's in businesses.
DEI promotes incompetence.
It does. And Donald Trump has made huge efforts trying to eliminate it from the
Right.
schools and from businesses, not always successfully, unfortunately. And the real danger is that we have young people who are growing up thinking of America as being racist.
Well, that's again because of the press.
Yeah.
If we worried
And the
about
NEA.
if we worried about education,
Yeah.
and instead of teaching, instead of learning, DEI would not be necessary. It's not necessary.
That's right.
It's not necessary at all. What's necessary is taking the schools, in all the schools, saying, yeah, there's going to be discipline. You're going to be here to learn. You're going to throw the phones away, you're going to study, you're going to do your homework, and guess what? If you're not grade compatible with everybody else, you're staying back.
Yeah, exactly.
I got to get to this quote because this is probably one of the most
Okay.
important quotes around. Laws that forbid the carrying of arms disarm only those who are neither inclined nor determined to commit crimes. Such laws make things worse for the assaulted and better for the assailants. They serve rather to encourage than to prevent homicides, for an unarmed man may be attacked with greater confidence than an armed man. And I know, and I hate to get into the party situation, but Democrats want to get rid of guns. Ask yourself, why do Democrats want to get rid of the guns? Do they want to get rid of the guns because they want total control of the government? Okay? Because now all of a sudden we can't fight them? People who commit the crimes, the mass murders, the crimes, robbing banks, whatever, 99% of those guns are illegal.
Yeah, it's a problem that we've been tackling for years. And it's interesting because whenever there's a shooting, it's top priority in the mainstream media to highlight the fact this was caused by a gun. And it's usually a gun that is, what do they call them, the high-powered rifle kind of things. And many times it's not. Sometimes it's a handgun.
Yeah.
And recently, it has been knives. People getting stabbed on the subways.
Maybe we should eliminate knives.
Maybe we should get rid of knives.
So
how about cars?
You better have good teeth so you can eat your steak.
How about cars? People running down ICE agents. Maybe we should take away the cars as well.
Maybe we should also enforce some laws like the drunken driving laws.
There you go.
You know, because people die from a drunk driver.
Or not giving licenses, especially the big 18-wheeler trucks, not giving licenses to people who can't even speak English or read road signs.
That brings up another interesting topic, and the topic is, why is it that the United States is the only country in the world that doesn't have an official language?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay? If we had an official language, you can't get a license without knowing English. You can't become a citizen without knowing English.
These are all questions we need to know. We need to ask our people that are running for office, particularly, I'm thinking of here in Massachusetts, Seth Moulton, running for Markey's seat.
Yeah,
he needs
Seth
to
Moulton
answer
is a-
these questions.
All right. I've got a lot of quotes here. We're not going to get to them all, but I just want to quickly say that, from Thomas Jefferson, the Bible is the cornerstone of liberty. We can leave that for now because there's so much to go over with that, and time is beginning to run low, but I think this is an important one. I think we have more machinery of government than is necessary, too many parasites living on the labor of the industrious. Basically, what
Very
he's
good.
saying is, we have so much welfare in this country that we take the incentive away from people to work. So anybody who needs our help deserves it, let's give it to them. But if you're too darn lazy to get a job, why should I support you? Thomas Jefferson said that in the 1700s, for crying out loud. It's more important today to understand that than it was back then.
Absolutely. Well, you see how things don't change all that much from one decade, century to the other. It changes in many ways, but the basic things that
Basic
especially
philosophy.
and the people don't really change that much.
Right.
So he knew that we had to keep on fighting this until the end of time.
The federal government is our servant, not our master.
Right. Tell that to the Massachusetts legislature.
It's amazing.
It is.
How, the foresight that he had. I never considered a difference of opinion in politics, in religion, in philosophy as a cause from withdrawing from a friend. Do you know how many people, how many families
I do.
are being disrupted because somebody's a Democrat and somebody's a Republican and they won't talk to each other? What difference does it make? You don't have to talk politics, but you have the right to. In this country, we have free speech. You have the right to your opinion, and the next person has the right to their opinion, and they can be different. That's okay.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of people that's not okay with.
Very difficult within a family, that's for sure.
Here's another real good one, okay? And there's no way that Thomas Jefferson could know how much debt this country is in now. No generation has a right to contract debts greater than can be paid off during the course of its own existence.
And that's really prophetic because Thomas Jefferson actually, in his later years, incurred a lot of debt.
And he continues on by saying we must not let our rulers load us with perpetual debt.
And he unfortunately
But see,
did.
what our politicians are doing now, and again, both parties,
Yep.
what they're doing now is they're buying people's votes.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah, we'll give you, I mean, there's some people, I'm telling you, you see interviewed on TV once in a while. Yes, I collect welfare, but it's not costing anybody any money.
Everything's free.
What do you mean it's not costing anybody money? Where do they get the money? It's from the government. Well, where does the government get its money?
Oh, well, listen, I think that we're about to close. I would just like to make a statement about, I'm not sure how well this is known. This is some facts about the founders, that Congress chose Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, and Benjamin Franklin to design a great seal for the new country. Franklin proposed the phrase, "Rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God." He really embraced that and sometimes stamped it on the wax seals of his own correspondence. Congress rejected the elaborate seal, but it did retain the words, "E pluribus unum," which became the country's motto. So I think, I just wish that the school children were privy to this information and it was taught to them for them to understand exactly how this country was formed. So thank you for listening and watching, and we will see you next time.